I think every woman going through divorce should get to have Rihanna say to her that she's a bad bitch.
She knows that her lover has mysteriously left her, yet she still doesn't fully understand why. Natalie Portman made millions fall in love with her as the tormented ballerina in Black Swan, who stood radiant on the Oscar stage at the height of her powers, has spent recent years navigating a deeply personal storm. What began as a seemingly perfect artistic love story slowly revealed hidden fractures behind closed doors. It is about a woman who gave her heart completely, only to watch the foundation she built her entire adult life upon begin to crumble. The real tragedy is not any fall from grace, but how she continued to move through it all with the same quiet elegance that has always defined her. So what really happened in the private chapters of one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses? And how does one find the strength to rebuild when the love she trusted most turns out to be far more complicated than it appeared? Let's go back to the beginning, to the golden years, before anyone realized the fairy tale would take such an unexpected turn. Natalie Portman's career began not with calculated ambition, but with an instinctive pull toward performance that would define her for decades. From her debut as a child in Léon, the Professional, 1994, where she played the orphaned Mathilde opposite Jean Reno, she approached acting with a seriousness that belied her age. She recalled the experience fondly. It was so exciting, of course, my first time being on a set and getting to act with incredible actors like Jean Reno and Gary Oldman. Everything felt like a game to me, and it was a really fun way to get to go into acting. Filmed partly in Paris, the role introduced her to international sets, museums, and a sense of playful discovery that made acting feel like an adventure rather than a job. Early supporting turns in Heat, 1995, Beautiful Girls, 1996, Everyone Says I Love You, and Mars Attacks, 1996, the latter of which she described as a dream come true because Tim Burton was one of her favorite directors as a child, showed her ability to steal scenes with quiet intensity. She turned down roles like Lolita and dropped out of Romeo plus Juliet when she felt too young, already wary of being cast as a sexualized youngster. As she later reflected in 2007, "There's a surprising preponderance of that kind of role for young girls, sort of being fantasy objects for men, and especially this idealized purity combined with the fertility of youth. It was definitely interesting to think about why men write the female characters they do. Those experiences taught her to protect her boundaries and internalize her choices, keeping her armor polished, even when the industry pushed back." Her global breakthrough arrived with Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, 1999, as Padme Amidala. Unfamiliar with the franchise at first, she immersed herself, drawing from classic Hollywood icons and even channeling kabuki theater after a trip to Japan for the Queen's stylized, dreamlike presence. She worked closely with George Lucas on accent and mannerisms, filming in arduous locations while still in high school. The film became a massive commercial success, establishing her as an international star. Yet she skipped the premiere to study for finals, a choice that underscored her commitment to intellect over spotlight. She would reprise the role in Attack of the Clones, 2002, and Revenge of the Sith, 2005, appreciating the chance to play a confident young woman who didn't depend on the male lead. Parallel to blockbusters, Portman pursued higher education relentlessly. After graduating from Syosset High School in 1999, she enrolled at Harvard, studying psychology while taking advanced courses in Hebrew literature and neurobiology. She famously declared, "I don't care if college ruins my career. I'd rather be smart than a movie star." During this period, she appeared in Anywhere But Here, 1999, earning a Golden Globe nomination, Where the Heart Is, 2000, and a celebrated Broadway turn in The Seagull with Meryl Streep. She called the post-Phantom Menace years some of the most difficult times in her life, feeling criticized for her Star Wars work and struggling to find substantial roles. She even begged for her small part in Cold Mountain, 2003, with Mike Nichols helping restore her confidence. The shift toward mature, complex roles accelerated in the mid-2000s. In Garden State, 2004, she played a spirited young woman with epilepsy in a fun, collaborative shoot among young filmmakers. Closer, 2004, however, marked a turning point. She called Patrick Marber's script one of the greatest pieces of writing I've ever read, and embraced her first sexually explicit adult role, delivering a blazing breakthrough performance that won her a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress and an Oscar nomination. V for Vendetta, 2005, followed, where she shaved her head on camera as Evie Hammond, an act she described as liberating. It's surprising how something so simple can make you feel like what a big deal so many gender expectations are on you, and how different people treat you just from your hair. She found the politically charged role a genuine gift. By 2010, Black Swan became the defining pinnacle of her career. Training rigorously for months, 5 to 8 hours daily, losing 20 pounds under choreographer Benjamin Millepied, she poured herself into the dual role of the fragile, obsessive ballerina Nina Sayers. Dance had long moved her. It's kind of the art I'm most moved by. It expresses things that I feel I can't express by other media. She called the experience transformative, pushing her as both actor and artist, with director Darren Aronofsky as a true collaborator who valued her input. It really felt like a partnership. When she finally watched the finished film, she was stunned. I thought we were shooting something like almost documentary style. It was an amazing kind of wake-up call that film is the director's medium. The performance earned universal acclaim and the Academy Award for Best Actress in 2011. Controversy over dancing doubles arose, but Aronofsky defended her extensive physical commitment. The peak of her professional triumph became the beginning of her most personal chapter. When Natalie Portman won the Academy Award for Black Swan, she stood on stage and thanked "my beautiful love, Benjamin Millepied, who choreographed the film and has now given me my most important role of my life." The words carried more weight than anyone outside their circle could know. Benjamin Millepied, the acclaimed French choreographer and dancer, brought in to train her and shape the ballet sequences, had become her partner, not just on the dance floor, but in life. Their connection began in fall 2009 on the Black Swan set. He taught her to dance for hours each day, guiding her body through the demanding choreography that blurred the line between art and obsession. She later described the entire experience as living in dreamland. In a Sirius XM town hall, she recalled, "I met my husband on it, so I think I was in, like, dreamland, so it seemed pretty fun the whole time." For someone as guarded and intellectually rigorous as Natalie, being disarmed by passionate, spontaneous movement was both thrilling and terrifying. Benjamin was fire to her precision, deeply immersed in the dance world, effortless in his artistry, unafraid of intensity. Friends say she was completely captivated. They became engaged, and in 2011 welcomed their first son, Aleph. They married in 2012 in a private ceremony in Big Sur, California, reflecting Natalie's lifelong desire to keep something sacred away from the public eye. Their daughter Amalia arrived in 2017. To outsiders, it looked like the perfect artistic union. Two creative forces blending intellect and movement, building a family while balancing transatlantic lives between Los Angeles, New York, and Paris. The dynamic seemed symbiotic, her disciplined, thoughtful approach complemented by his passionate, spontaneous energy. Yet, as in many intense artistic relationships, the balance was delicate. Natalie had always been the one who thought through every angle, the Harvard-educated woman who chose roles instinctively but carefully. When you love someone who brought passion into your structured world, you will tolerate almost anything to avoid losing that spark, those close to her observed. What she didn't fully realize was that being matched creatively isn't always the same as being valued emotionally in the long, quiet years after the spotlight fades. The cracks remained invisible for a long time because Natalie is exceptional at maintaining composure, including the role of devoted wife and mother. She continued her selective, high-quality work, producing, directing A Tale of Love and Darkness, delivering acclaimed performances in Jackie, Annihilation, and later May-December, while prioritizing family. She set clear boundaries early. I'm not a particularly private person in real life, I'll tell you anything, but in public, it was so clear early on that if you tell people how private you are, your privacy gets respected a lot more. I set up a little bit of a barrier to be like, I'm not going to do photo shoots with my kids. She wanted her children to develop as individuals away from the glare of fame. In Rare Reflections, she described motherhood as a grounding force. My kids are always a source of excitement because you just see them develop into the individuals they are. She even noted that her children encouraged her to take the role of mighty Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder, saying it made work feel really cool to them. Co-parenting and protecting their privacy became her quiet priority long before any public fracture appeared. In 2023, French and American media exploded with reports that Benjamin Millepied had engaged in a short-lived extramarital affair with a younger French climate activist in her mid-20s. The allegations surfaced painfully. Natalie had quietly been evaluating strains in the marriage, but the discovery of the infidelity hit hard. Sources described it as a humiliating scenario for a woman who had built her life around depth, resilience, and thoughtful choices. The couple tried to work through it privately at first. Benjamin reportedly expressed deep regret, calling it an enormous mistake, and fought to save the marriage and keep the family together. Natalie, ever graceful and protective, avoided public comment, focusing instead on shielding their children. But the damage ran deep. Here was a woman who had given years to balancing two intense careers, transatlantic moves, and the emotional labor of an artistic partnership, only to find trust shattered in such a public and personal way. Friends said she was devastated, yet determined to handle it with dignity. The situation forced her to confront unspoken imbalances, the way passion that once felt liberating could later leave one feeling exposed. Everything she had believed about their bond, about the man who had guided her through her most transformative role, was now suspect. Natalie, who had spent her career portraying women of profound inner strength, from Evie in V for Vendetta to Jackie Kennedy, found herself living a real-life drama with no script and no easy resolution. Unlike in films, there was no director shaping the final cut, only the raw reality of betrayal and the decision of how to move forward while protecting the children she called her source of excitement. The final break came quietly. In July 2023, Natalie filed for divorce in France. The process remained largely private, with both sides emphasizing co-parenting. The divorce was finalized in February 2024. A source close to the couple noted, "Her biggest priority has been ensuring a smooth transition for her children. She and Ben really love their kids and are equally focused on being the best co-parents they can be. Nothing is more important." Natalie continued showing up to premieres and promotions with her characteristic grace, redirecting conversations back to her work. Her career continued with the same selective depth that had always defined it. She delivered critically acclaimed work in May-December 2023, playing an actress researching a morally complex role opposite Julianne Moore. She stepped into television with Lady in the Lake 2024, portraying a 1960s housewife turned investigative journalist. Upcoming projects included Guy Ritchie's Fountain of Youth and other Apple TV Plus ventures through her production company, Mountain A. The roles remained meaningful, blending intellect, emotional nuance, and quiet strength. Yet the emotional weight of navigating divorce, co-parenting, and public scrutiny while maintaining a high-profile career took its toll. She handled everything with characteristic discretion, refusing to air details and redirecting focus back to her craft. Those close to her noticed she leaned more heavily on friends and family during this period. The practical realities of dismantling a shared life, co-parenting across distances, dividing time and attention, forced her to confront what she had once believed was a lasting artistic partnership. Natalie wasn't broken professionally, but the personal grief was its own kind of silent crisis. After the divorce, the tabloids descended with familiar intensity, turning every public sighting into speculation. In 2025, Natalie was linked to French music producer Tanguy Destable, known as Tipper. They were spotted together in Paris, sharing quiet moments that suggested something genuine was forming. For a woman who had guarded her private life so carefully, this new connection represented cautious hope after profound betrayal. Friends described her as lovely, engaged, and present, yet understandably guarded. Opening up again after such deep hurt carried its own invisible walls. She continued prioritizing her children above all, ensuring Aleph and Amalia could develop into individuals away from the spotlight. As she told Jenna Ortega in April 2025, "My kids are always a source of excitement because you just see them develop into the individuals they are. Also, I've been spending a lot of time with my friends, with their kids and my kids. That's pretty fun." Then, in April 2026, Natalie shared news that marked a new chapter. Speaking with Harper's Bazaar, she confirmed that she and Tanguy Destable were expecting their first child together. At 44, she was pregnant again, a third baby joining the family she already shared with Benjamin, Aleph, now a teenager, and Amalia. "Tanguy and I are very excited," she said. "I'm just very grateful. I know it's such a privilege and a miracle." She spoke with deep appreciation and gratitude, acknowledging both the joy and the privilege of this moment. Where she stands today, a woman rebuilding. As of 2026, Natalie Portman is quietly writing a new story. Motherhood remains central to her life, not as a balance she sought, but as a grounding force she cherishes. She once reflected, "Having kids, that wasn't really my motivation. I was just excited to have kids, and with a person that I was in love with. But it's really important to have people in your life who keep you on the ground." The tragedy of Natalie Portman's marriage ending isn't that it happened. Even the most artistic unions can fracture. The deeper sadness lies in what the ending revealed. The unspoken imbalances in a relationship born of creative intensity. The pain of betrayal from someone who had once guided her through her greatest professional triumph, and the realization that the family she nurtured could face fracture along lines she hadn't anticipated. At a moment when many settled into stability, she found herself starting over, questioning how well she had truly been known. Yet tragedies only remain tragic if they end there. Natalie's story is far from over. At 44, she is stepping into a new chapter marked by resilience, intellectual depth, quiet grace, and renewed joy. She is a mother watching her children grow into individuals, an artist still choosing roles with instinct and care, a woman grateful for the miracle of new life, and someone learning once again what it means to love and be loved on her own terms. The foundation she once built may have shifted, but Natalie Portman continues to stand, graceful, thoughtful, and quietly strong, ready for whatever comes next in a life that has always been more complex, more human, and ultimately more hopeful than any script could capture. What truly defines resilience is not the absence of heartbreak, but the quiet grace with which one chooses to begin again. Natalie Portman's journey reminds us that even the most luminous lives carry unseen chapters of pain, growth, and renewal. If you were moved by this story of love, loss, and quiet rebirth, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss the human stories behind the spotlight, the ones that truly stay with us. Thank you for reading. More real, intimate journeys of strength and transformation await.